UFO hearing in front of Congress today was a huge step for us in the UFO community. And I'm going to tell you why, but first let's get into the juicy details. Okay, so one of the most shocking things that we heard today came from Ryan Graves. Now, this incident took place at Vanton Air Force Base, or Space Force Base, where a giant red cube, the size of a football field, shot out of the water and darted over the mountains, witnessed by Air Force pilots. Next, Representative Anna Paulina Luna came to win today when she asked the question we're all thinking. Why do you keep referring to it as non-human instead of extraterrestrial? Whistleblower David Grusch said it's because he wants to be open-minded about its origin. And this was the most shocking part for me, where he said that these beings might be interdimensional and proceeded to talk about the holographic principle of reality. Oh my God, David Grusch, did you watch my Dimension series? I highly suggest you all watch my Dimension series. Go to the link in my bio and check out this Dimensions Explained video on my YouTube, because you're going to need to understand dimensions in order to understand what's happening with alien disclosure going forward. Okay, another one of the most shocking things that we heard from David Grusch today. Have non-human bodies been retrieved from these craft? And he said yes, which literally confirms aliens under oath. Let's continue with these juicy details. Ryan Graves talked about another sighting, which was a black cube inside of a clear sphere. A lot of people in the chat were saying that they thought that that was a protection bubble. But I'm telling you, that's why you guys have to understand the breakdown of dimensions. Because us as three-dimensional beings can only see up to a three-dimensional object. So to me, this cube inside of a sphere could very likely be a fourth-dimensional shape, like a tesseract, but we are only able to perceive it in its three-dimensional form. Okay, Representative Burleson from Missouri asked some of the best questions of all. He said, if these things are so intelligent and advanced enough to get here to Earth, why the heck are they crashing? Like, you literally made it all the way here. David Grusch said, regardless of sentience or intelligence level, even here on Earth, the most intelligent pilots still crash sometimes. Now, there's a lot of theories in the UFO community that these crashes are intentional because they want humanity to reverse engineer this technology because these beings see the energy crisis that we are in and they want us to obtain 0-point energy and stop relying on resources that are destroying the planet. Okay, but moving on, there's so many things to get into here. Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. Now, he was not in attendance, as far as we know. He is the head of AARO, which is the Pentagon Task Force for UAPs. Based on all of the information that you're telling us today, why did Kirkpatrick say that there was absolutely no evidence to support this? David Grusch says that he knows for a fact he was informed because he spoke to the same whistleblowers and witnesses, and he knows the information that was shared with Kirkpatrick, basically accusing him of lying under oath. Okay, now I want to address a lot of people's frustration with this hearing. David Grusch was not able to answer a lot of questions. His answer oftentimes was, you need to check out my News Nation interview, or we could talk about it in a skiff or a private hearing. And I want to give some clarity on that situation because I was also frustrated. But Grusch's interview with News Nation, nearly every single word, every single sentence had to be approved by the Defense Office for pre-publication and security review. And personally, I believe that's why he kept referring to the interview instead of paraphrasing what was said in the interview, because the information that he was allowed to share was so constricted. And this is the reason why a lot of body language experts found that he was withholding information. Also, all three of these witnesses took an oath to protect the United States of America. And if they actually are honest people, then they're going to uphold that oath. Meaning that they're not going to reveal any information that hasn't been approved because it can put people and locations at risk. Also, I want to note that Grusch is currently involved in an investigation. Before coming forward, he was harassed, threatened, and maybe more. Due to that investigation, he cannot say all that was done against him to prevent him from coming out at this time. Also, he will be arrested if he reveals more information than he is allowed to. We saw what happened with Edward Snowden. The truth is not automatically protected under the law, sadly. The last reason that I think he's being so cautious, if he goes about this the wrong way and ends up in jail, that will prevent all the other whistleblowers behind him from coming forward. So he needs to do this the right way so he can pave the way for others. Okay, now let's get to the topic of national security. All three of them agreed that this is a matter of national security. However, our third whistleblower, Mr. Fravor, who witnessed the Tic Tac incident, who was smiling his face off the whole time, he's like, I wasn't into UFOs before this. He said the reason why he thinks this is a matter of national security is if one of these things crashed and was reverse engineered by one of our enemies, that we would never be able to defend ourselves against it. Which is a very interesting perspective, because it wasn't about the non-humans being dangerous. It was another country reverse engineering the technology that could be dangerous. So I think that was an important distinction that could be made. This is where we get into the military-industrial complex. The three witnesses were asked, do you think that the defense contractors are abusing their contracts by overcharging the Department of Defense and then using the excess money to fund these black ops projects? The witnesses said yes. AOC asked if these defense contractors witness a UFO, are they required to report it to the US government? And the answer was no. Representative Tim Burchett expressed his frustration, saying for the last 5 years that the DoD and the Pentagon have lost over $1 billion each year that they cannot account for. Then David Grush chimes in and says, yeah, if I'm even $1 over my expenses, I need to answer for it. And Burchett's like, yeah, you sell something on eBay and the IRS is knocking on your door. Okay, now let's talk about the suppression of information and targeted disinformation. David Grush did actually use the term administrative terrorism. It was also confirmed that commercial aviators were sent cease and desist when they tried to report their sightings of UAPs. When the three witnesses were directly asked, is there a disinformation campaign around UAPs? Graves said, I don't know. Grush said, yes. Fravor said he's retired, he knows of Project Blue Book, but that he can't speak currently for the US government. Now let's discuss some of the potential threats. To your knowledge, has one of these things ever killed anybody? Grush said yes. He's like, whoa, wait, the craft or some retaliation about coming forward? Grush said both, but that he cannot reveal any more information publicly. It was also noted that when these craft come near our craft, our radar and everything malfunctions in their presence. Okay, final thoughts. I was actually really impressed with this because I had very low expectations. I thought it was only going to be about craft. I didn't think they were going to talk about beings. I didn't think they were going to talk about dimensions or the holographic universe. Overall, I think this was a great first step for us. It doesn't appear that the next hearing is set yet, but we can anticipate more. I also want to remind everyone, every single Congress member on that panel wasn't even alive during Roswell. Not a single one of them are responsible personally for the cover-up. So we need to give these Congress members the benefit of the doubt that they are doing their job. None of them are personally responsible for the cover-up, and everybody who is responsible is long dead and will never have to answer for themselves. So I know, it coming from the government, of course, they have completely lost our trust. And Representative Garcia said it best. Faith in the government is at an all-time low. And he also addressed, why are we asking questions that people already know? What feels like old news? And he said, remember, we need to get this officially on record. So if some of this information isn't new, know that it's because we need to document this in order to move to the next stage. In my opinion, this is progress. This was a win today. This was a great first step. And I'm excited to see what's coming next.